Hi, I'm Ray,
Hi, I'm Lexi,
and
and
welcome to
welcome to
Spark
Spark
Double.
Double. Nailed it, guys.
We
We
did.
nailed it. Welcome to today's episode. This is episode 2. If you haven't seen episode 1, that's on our YouTube. You can go ahead and watch that now. Today, we're talking about something amazing, something truly phenomenal. We're talking about Thanksgiving, everyone. Woo!
We love food.
We do. I'm fat. There's a reason I'm fat, guys. And that's fat with a PH. We got to distinguish.
So, since it's the month of November, we're going to be talking about a lot of food-related things like food magic cards, food, and things of that nature.
I think to start this off, one of the things that we should get out of the way first, since we're going to be talking about Thanksgiving and food related topics, is what are our favorite foods for Thanksgiving? It can be a meal, a dessert, a side dish, a main dish. What's your favorite thing to eat on Thanksgiving, Ray?
Green bean casserole. I feel like green bean casserole is like love and hated by some people, but I love the crunchiness of the onions, like the little fried onions on top. I like the mushiness of the green beans. Just the combination together is fantastic for me.
I can go either way with green bean casserole. I will say those little crunchy onions, I could eat an entire freaking jar of those. They're so good, but it's hit or miss with me. I can enjoy it sometimes, but other times I'm like, it looks gross. My favorite dish for Thanksgiving. It's actually really hard because I have so many like delicious dishes that I like to eat, but I think I have to go with classic apple pie. The reason why for me is a little less about me liking it so much because there's so many other things that I think are more flavorful or like better options than apple pie. But my family, we cook a lot of pies together during Thanksgiving. We all really enjoy apple pie together. We have like this whole thing that my mom was taught from her grandfather, which is to put cheddar cheese on apple pie, like
Okay.
extra sharp cheddar cheese, and you just grate it right over the slice of apple pie. It adds in like this next level of flavor to it almost. And apple pie was my great grandfather's favorite. And like I said, he kind of passed down that habit all the way to me, because my mom was the one who showed me that. So it kind of has like a lot of meaning to my family. Plus, you can never go wrong with a classic Thanksgiving dish.
I am more of a pumpkin pie guy. I don't like cinnamon apples. I can't stand cinnamon apples, and the reason why is because like when I was really little, I was in daycare and we had cinnamon apples as like a little side, and they like made me eat it. They would not let me do anything else until I ate the cinnamon apple. And I was like, dude, I can't eat it. It's gross. I ended up eating it and then I threw up like immediately. I was like, I can't
That's
do it. And
awful.
since then, it's like ruined it for me. So I can't eat apple pie, but I can eat pumpkin pie.
Yeah. I am not a pumpkin pie person. I'll make pumpkin pies, but if I'm not going with a classic apple pie, I'm going for cream pies, chocolate cream pie, banana
Ooh.
cream pie, like those kind of things. And like, I don't know if anybody else does this, but when my family makes their pies, we put alcohol in it because
Okay.
alcohol is one of the best ways to flavor your dishes. Because here's the thing, I'm going to teach everyone a science lesson. When you use alcohol, especially if it's like 99% alcohol, like 99 bananas is, when you use that and you cook it into a pudding or into any kind of dish, a sauce, the alcohol cooks out of it and the flavor stays. It's pretty cool. It does not get anybody drunk. It is kid safe. It just adds an extra level of flavor.
For Halloween, I had like drinks with some friends and I went to a liquor store to get some and they had like these what you see on TikTok, those like little bags of things that people buy from like gas stations to like mix drinks. And
Mhm.
they had one for a mimosa and it included orange 99 and I've never had it before, any of the 99s, but I tried it. It tasted like Fruit Loops. So I feel like that'd be really good in a dessert dish if you use that
Yeah.
flavor. I just didn't like it because it was way too strong.
Yeah, they are. I highly recommend you mix something with them when you drink
Yeah.
them because, dude, doing those shots straight, holy crap.
I feel like I would just die. I feel like that would be the end of me.
I've done a lot of things in my limited time of years. Some of them I'm not proud of. Some of them were handed to me by family members, and
Don't
there's
don't
stories to be uncovered.
don't do drugs, kids.
This is a 21 plus, 18 plus, 18 plus,
Yeah, depends on where you are in the world.
or 16 plus. I could go with 16 plus. My sibling, they're 15. I feel like if they watched our podcast, it'd be fine. That kid's worse than I am when I was that age, so I can't. I was a good kid, guys. I was a straight A student. I had no friends. I came home and just like sat in my room doing arts and crafts and playing magic with like my brother and stuff. Like I was a very, very good kid.
I was also a good kid. I also had straight A's and I had like barely any friends. I had one
Yeah,
friend.
I had like 2 friends. and they were twins.
Nice, nice. I would always like latch on to one person. I'd find like my best friend and they would be my best friend like forever.
I had a best friend from like the time that I moved to one of the towns that I lived in to the time I moved out of that town. Then I found another one. But then when that friend moved away, there was no one to replace them. So I kind of just like didn't.
Oh.
I kind of just focused on being a little social media goblin.
I always moved around a lot when I was little. I would go, from like different states or whatever. And like my best friend would always be the complete opposite of me. It would be a super, super girly girl. The stereotypical like makeup, like boy bands girl, which is really interesting. Like one time I actually had a friend who was like becoming a model. This was in like 5th grade and she was like starting that. And I was like the complete opposite tomboy, like didn't want anything to do with that.
Yeah. I had friends that were pretty opposite of me, and I also attracted like really gay people. Like all the friends that I had throughout, like I want to say late elementary school to high school and like even college, like they were some sort of LGBTQ libidiqua,
Libidiqua.
or they were like neurospicy in some sort of way too. I don't know. Maybe it's just like we attract each other, you know? Well, to get us back on topic, so that we don't keep having this conversation because we both know we will talk for literally hours if we could. Let's talk about our favorite magic food token and our favorite magic food themed card.
So I have two favorite food tokens. One of them, if you've ever ordered from Card Kingdom, they sometimes send you like a bonus little token with your package. I really love the food token they send. It's a little cat in front of a like table full of food. There's like a turkey on it and stuff, and it's super cute. It's the cutest cat ever. So it's that one. And then there's also a food token from the Lord of the Rings set that is just this guy that has been bundled up in spider webs, and there's just a giant spider behind him getting ready to eat him.
I think those are definitely both really cool. I like the cat one, trying to knock down the turkey, and I think that fits really nicely into our Thanksgiving and food theme. My favorite food token is actually one that came out recently. It came out in the set of Bloomborough. The artist was David Frikeski. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong. I'm not the greatest with names. And it's this little food token that has like a tree stump table and it has fresh berries and a little bit of glass of milk with a dandelion, like some oatmeal with berries in it, some little tarts. It's so cute, so like cottage core. It's adorable and I want all of them. I want to just make a mural out of it. Like just staple it all over my wall. That's what's going to be on that wall back there. As for my favorite food card, however, that has to go to also semi recent. It came out in Wilds of Eldraine, and that would be Sir Ginger the Meal Ender. Sir Ginger the Meal Ender costs 2 colorless. It is a legendary artifact creature, food knight. Sir Ginger, the Meal Ender, has Trample, Hexproof, and Haste as long as an opponent controls a Planeswalker. Whenever another artifact you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, you put a +1/+1 counter on Sir Ginger and scry 1. And then you can pay 2, sacrifice Sir Ginger. You gain life equal to its power. And to start off, they are a 3/1. So the reason I like this card so much is because when Throne of Eldraine first came out, I don't know if you've seen the super sad trailer for Throne of Eldraine back when Magic did like the super cool narrated trailers with songs and other stuff. You followed the story of Sir Ginger and her anonymous male gingerbread man. Unfortunately, anonymous male gingerbread man dies, and we didn't really know much after that. We were like, we don't know the story of him, we don't know what happened. And then with Wilds of Eldraine, here pops up Sir Ginger, the Meal Ender, here to revenge her tragic lover's death. And she's just a girl boss, absolute queen. She's like so badass. And honestly, that horse she riding look a little tasty.
What a statement.
That is a statement. You can quote me on that. Disclaimer, I don't eat actual horses, only ones made out of cookies.
So my favorite food card, I would say, is Minstrosity. It is a black card. It costs 1 black and 1 generic, and it is a creature horror. And when it dies, you create a food token. It's just a 3/1. It's really simple, but the art of it's really cool. He's got like candy cane arms dripping with mystery green substance. He would definitely be on my Hear Me Out cake for reasons I will not get into. But yeah, I think he's pretty sick. He's got cool pokey bits. That's really all I got. And like the candy cane arms, it looks like what I do when I eat candy canes, which is just suck on them until they get really pointy and like turn into a weapon.
And then you stick your tongue with it and you're like, God dang it.
Yeah. Like, ow, this hurts, but you're gonna keep doing it anyway.
Exactly. That's how I eat them too. Don't feel bad. There's a proper way to eat a candy cane. And then I hate people who chomp on candy
Oh my
canes
god.
too. Like, no, you gotta suck on it. Suck on it.
There are these candy cane sticks that like Walmart and I think Kroger might sell as well. They're really thick sticks
Yeah.
of candy
We have
cane.
them at my store right now because we did the Christmas setup. I know exactly what you're talking about.
I love them. I love them so much. When I was in like elementary school, I did this play, like it was like a Nutcracker play, and for some reason we used those as like little flutes instead of like actual
That's
flutes.
amazing.
And since then, like I love them. I get them every single year. They last way too long, so it kind of gets disgusting, but I still eat like all of them.
Yeah, I like when you take candy canes and you put them into the hot chocolate and
Mhm.
they melt in the hot. Like that's one of my favorite ways to enjoy them. I have this precious childhood memory of going to like the Christmas tree lightings in my town, and there'd be this place giving out free hot chocolate, and then there'd be volunteers giving out like the little mini candy canes, and
Mhm.
I'd like stockpile the mini candy canes and just put like a shit ton of them into my hot chocolate and just like drink them. Oh, my best childhood memory right there.
So we've talked about our favorite food creatures, but now we'll talk about our favorite food-themed commanders.
It's kind of funny because we both kind of had the idea to go for like the same one at first, but I chose a different one. So I chose, I'm sorry guys, this is so much Bloomborough. I'm kind of obsessed with this set right now. I chose Yagra. Eater of All. Yagra Eater of All costs 3 colorless, 1 black, 1 green. It's a legendary creature elemental cat. It's a mythic rare from Bloomborough with the text that says ward, sacrifice a food. Other creatures are food artifacts in addition to their other types and have pay 2, tap it, sacrifice this permanent, you gain 3 life. Whenever a food is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, you can put 2+1/+1 counters on Yagra, Eater of All. It enters as a 6/6. I think this is just a really unique food concept because a lot of the cards that we have that deal with food right now are like actual food based commanders. We have like the gingerbread man who like makes the gingerbread and he deals with food and that's because he's cooking with food. This deck kind of uses it in, you know, the hunter and prey type of way where it's saying it's an eater of all, the art is showing it chasing after a bunch of mice, it's a predator. It's kind of something different than your cute, cozy little, let me bake a pie, let me make some cookies. It's like, no, I'm eating these mice. So it's a little morbid, you know?
Cute but deadly.
Exactly, cute but deadly. Other than that, I think it's a pretty strong card in general. I obviously can't see it going into CEDH, but for like casual EDH, I can see it becoming a pretty strong deck and one that like I don't want to say it's kind of Voltron-y because it's not, but I think one of the ways that you could use it is by pumping out food tokens and kind of going like this interesting like token Voltron kind of deck where you can obviously, like I said, pump out those tokens, sacrifice those tokens, and like make Yagra very big with the token sacks and then also like equipment and stuff, and then he could just be your big swinger. Like I feel like this deck would almost exclusively win in commander damage, especially since it's starting as a 6/6. Like that's crazy. Other than that, I don't know too much lore about the creature at all. I know Bloomborough has some pretty cool lore, so if you're interested in that, go ahead and check it out. I wanted to talk more about the deck itself because I think there's a lot of unique ways that this card can be utilized. I definitely think like with Academy Manufacture too, you get in those food, you get in that treasure, getting the other token it makes that I can't remember at the top of my head right now.
Clue token.
Clue token, there we go. It's a very cool card. I like it a lot. Also, the panther on it, I like panthers a lot. He reminds me of my black cat I had named Pterodactyl. But yeah, so cool card, cool things it can do, unique deck. Can't wait to build it. I'll let y'all know how it plays out when I do end up building it. And now I'll be turning over this conversation to my lovely co-host. Tell us about you know who.
Okay. So my favorite food commander, I'm kind of a poser. I don't have a deck for her, but my partner does. It's Asmorano, Martika, Dice, and Nicole Dakar.
I'm
And
jealous you can say that.
when she first came out, me and my partner looked up a video of how to say it just so we could flex. And also because they were going to make a deck on her, so they wanted to make sure that they could say the name of her. And once you watch the video a couple times, it's really easy. It's just Asmorano, Martika, Diced, and Nicole Dakar. Super easy.
You
But
say easy. I say I can't speak English on a regular day. How can I speak English now?
So, Esmeralda Martica Dice Nicoldekar, she's a really good food commander. She says as long as you've discarded a card this turn, you can pay either 1 black or 1 red to cast the spell. And when she enters the battlefield, you can search your library for a card named Underworld Cookbook, reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle. And then you can sacrifice 2 foods, and then target creature deals 6 damage to itself. And she is a 3/3. So the way that my partner built this deck, it's not necessarily a strictly food deck. It's more of a combo deck, but it has really good staple like combo pieces. Academy Manufacturer is one of them, like you mentioned, because it says if you would create a clue, food, or treasure token, you create one of each instead. Really good, kind of goes crazy. That along with like Cauldron Familiar, which is a cat that says when it enters the battlefield, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life, and then you can sacrifice a food to just get it back. That's another good card in it. Like Agatha's Soul Cauldron, Sir Ginger's in the deck. But yeah, there's a million different combinations in it. And oh, Appearance of the Abyss. I've gotten killed with Appearance of the Abyss into a Firestorm combo. It sucks because I love Appearance of the Abyss so much. So having it used on me is just it's so mean. But it's definitely my
It's like
karma.
when I use it, it's fine, but when you use it against me,
Exactly.
yikes.
But no, Asma herself has some pretty cool lore. So basically, TLDR, she summoned this Lord of the Pit, and his name was Vincent, which I think is a very interesting name for a Lord of the Pit. And she basically ran out of food to give him. So instead of him eating her, she agreed to go into service as a chef for him for 7 years and 7 days. So for 7 years and 7 days, she fed him a different dish every day. And if he ever got bored of one of her dishes, the deal was that he would just eat her. So she had to make very interesting meals each day in order to not get eaten. And so at the end, he was like, hey, I don't really want you to leave because you make yummy food, and offered her a full-time job. But she was like, I don't really like being in hell. It kind of sucks here. So how about I just make you a cookbook instead? And so he agreed. She ended up making the Underworld Cookbook, made about 20 copies of it, but only 2 were sold, so she wasn't too popular down there. She was pretty upset that nobody in hell wanted her cookbook, so she told her imps to get rid of it. And, you know, when you make a cookbook in hell, you don't really make it burnable. They just try to throw it in lava. Didn't work. They were like, okay. So then they ended up throwing them into a garbage chute. Fun fact though, the garbage chute led to the overworld, where overworld creatures found it and were like, hey, this is a pretty cool cookbook. And they ended up becoming super duper popular in the overworld. She was popular enough to end up writing another cookbook. So yeah, she's got really cool lore.
Yeah, I love her. I went to school for culinary arts, so I can definitely relate. And it's one of my goals to eventually make a cookbook. I was even going to run a campaign for D&D where each quest, the quest was to go kill something so that they could cook it. And I would, with each quest, release a recipe that I made to go with that, whatever they're doing. And I think this is kind of interesting. You had mentioned how the name Vincent is kind of like really odd name to have. Vincent derives from the word to win or to conquer. That's like its meaning. It has a Roman descent from the word Vincentius. So I think I could see it going 2 ways. Either one, Vincent was seeing himself winning his side of the deal and that he would get bored with her dishes. And that might be, or it might be ironic because he lost because she proved him wrong. So he didn't win. So it could be like a ironic thing that whatever author or wherever the lore is derived from for her story could have thought that'd be funny.
Especially with her name being so long and so unique as it is, and then just the person that she was like kind of enslaved to named Vincent, there's definitely got to be some sort of symbolism.
Right? Right?
With her cookbook, she made like dishes out of like ogres and gargoyles and stuff. Do you have any creatures that you would make into food from magic?
Oh my gosh. Welcome to our next topic, everybody. We are going to be talking about how we would cook and what creatures we would cook for magic. Now, there's an entire list, so we had to narrow it down to like, let's say like 4 or 5, 6 of them. And the first one I'd like to start off with is one that kind of makes sense, which is Devouring Sugar Maw. Now, if you've never seen Devouring Sugar Maw, it's basically this angel food cake looking thing with candy cane arms and candy tentacles. Pretty cool card. I think it's already cooked. Like, just looking at it, it doesn't look like it'd be raw. And I don't really know the parts of a monster. Like, I don't know how it would be dissected. But if I were to assume, I think it would just be like a sentient food item. I don't think there'd be any like blood or guts, or if there was blood, I think it'd be like icing. So the way that I would prepare it would just be by simply just slicing it up and then serving it to people, just like you would a cake. You know, maybe garnishing it with some of that candy cane that it had, like some little candy, some sprinkles. Pretty simple.
It's just murder. We're talking about murder, except with magic creatures.
Listen, it's not the most unhinged thing that we've discussed. So yeah, devouring sugar moth. I think it makes perfect sense. And I think honestly, if you were to just slice it up into big giant slices and then serve it to people, I think they'd be pretty happy. Maybe toast it a little bit, keep it warm. Next one, also very, very sensible. Rock egg. Dude, it's an egg. We're just gonna take it, we're gonna crack it open onto a skillet. We're gonna go ahead, we're gonna scramble that egg up, okay? We're gonna scramble it all up, and then we're gonna go ahead and put in some tomatoes, some kale if you like that, maybe a little bit of bacon or chicken. Who knows, maybe some dragon meat from a dragon we slayed earlier. We're just gonna make a nice little omelet with it. It's good for something. You gotta think, people in the world of magic have to eat somehow. So how are they eating?
You're telling me if you come across Sir Ginger in the wild, you're not gonna pick up that cookie and eat it?
Not Sir Ginger. Sir Ginger, I think that's a whole different thing. But if it's just a creature's egg, oh well. I mean, we do the same thing. Think about it. If you compare rock egg to a chicken egg, we eat chicken eggs all the time. Rock egg is just a bigger chicken egg. So if I
Exactly.
just eat the egg, it's an egg, dude. Yeah, I'd make an omelet out of that one, and I think it'd be a pretty good omelet. Pretty seasoned. Otherwise, I think for rock egg, the other option would be to make sure it's fertilized, let the bird grow up, and then murder it, and then toast it and roast it with some good vegetables, some potatoes, some root vegetables, and have just a nice roast bird. Now, I don't think I'd personally be able to do that because I think I'd get too attached and cry, in Charlotte's Web when her dad's killing the pigs. That's how I think I would get with it. But yeah, so those are the two options that I would cook somehow and eat them. I'm not ashamed, guys. And then I think I have a third. It's an honorable mention, though. Hear me out.
Okay.
Oko in his elk form.
I mean, his elf form works too, but
I mean, yeah, but as for how I'd prepare him, I don't know. I'm not very good with deer or elk, but I assume, it goes just like any other meat. You skin it, then you go ahead and cut up the different parts of the body, go ahead and fry it in a nice pan, kind of like a steak. Serve it with some mashed potatoes or whatever grain of your choice, and add some vegetables, and there we go.
you can make Oko jerky, how they make deer jerky.
Oh my god. That sounds like something bad, though.
Oh, back to the elf form.
God. Alrighty, so now that we've gone over my creatures and what I would eat or how I would cook them, what would you eat or how would you cook it?
I would eat spore frog.
Just full on or roasted?
It depends. It just depends on how much of a grudge I hold that day. You might just pop them in, just raw, just munch at the whole frog.
Just grab them and just.
He's gone. But no, I've had frog legs once. They weren't too great, so maybe try that again, except with spore frog. Maybe his stink will add some seasoning to it, some flavor.
Right, okay. I can see where you're going with it.
I don't know if you can do anything with frog organs. All I know is that when I was in middle school, I dissected a frog and the intestines looked like ramen noodles. You're welcome for that depiction. I couldn't eat ramen noodles for a month after I saw it. So I don't know. You just slurp up his insides with some miso soup or something.
No, okay. Yeah, there's a lot of delicacies, and frog legs and frog eggs are also a delicacy. So
Yes, I can eat spore frog's children.
Oh my god. Spore frog lays a fresh batch of eggs and Ray's just over here.
What they do with the snail eggs, the invasive snail eggs, they just crush them. You just see me just munching on them, just like caviar.
Oh my god.
My second one, and I have reasonings behind this. My second one is Chatterfang, but I could do two different things with Chatterfang. I could, one, just, cook him up. He's a squirrel. You can eat squirrel. Just, cook him up like you would a normal squirrel. Or I could put him in a cage, okay? And you know how, because you know how Chatterfang makes other squirrel tokens. So if I have him in a cage, maybe he can lure other squirrels to me, and then I have endless food supply because I just kill all of the squirrels that come to him.
That's fair. That's fair. That's really interesting because I don't know exactly how is he just a really good woman's man and he's just popping out baby? Is that how he makes them spawn? Or or is it your way? Because I don't know, I think depending on the way.
Chatterfang's just a Rizzler and just seduces
God.
the other squirrels. That's how the
don't know,
tokens
man.
get made.
We're writing this into magic lore. Chatterfang is a ladies' man.
Yes. I guess if that's the case, if the squirrels are his children, then I'd be eating Chatterfang's children too. So maybe I'm
a
just
thing for eating children.
just
Doesn't matter if it's Okus, doesn't matter if it's
spore frogs.
Chatterfangs.
Oko's child would be Kellen.
Well, I think
anyways.
we have some really interesting ways on how to cook some magic creatures, and honestly, good for us.
Yes.
Population control.
Speaking of Kellen, This is a good segue. He's being reprinted in the new Foundation set that's coming out.
Woo, foundations! So yes, we wanted to talk about foundations because it is coming out very soon. In fact, the day that we are recording this, it's the day before it pre-releases. So, woo! We're going to talk about some cards that we're very excited to see from Foundations.
There are 3 cards that I'm looking forward to in the Foundation set. One of them is the new Niv Mizzet, the Niv Mizzet Visionary. He costs 6, it's 4 generic, 1 blue, 1 red, and he has flying. He gives you no maximum hand size, and whenever a source you control deals non-combat damage to an opponent, you draw that many cards. It's pretty insane, because he combos with like almost every other Niv Mizzet, if not all of them.
Yeah, and there's a really good combo with 2 of them.
So yeah, just Niv Mizzet, going infinite with himself is pretty sick.
Yeah, you gotta create a deck with like all of them and call it like the Niv Mizzets.
Yes.
This is Niv Mizzet. Which one? No, it's
Yes.
just the Niv Mizzets.
Eventually, you'll just be able to make like an entire like deck of just Niv Mizzet.
Dude, someone had to have like just been like, I think we need another Niv Mizzet because there's so many. I think there was like 6 or 7 different Niv Mizzets now. There's 2 of them that are 5 color, and I think like 4 of them that are red blue. Not that I'm complaining. I like Niv Mizzet, but like, who the heck is just sitting there being like, yeah, we need another Niv Mizzet. It's about time. It's about time he makes a comeback.
Another card that I'm looking forward to is Blasphemous Edict. Blasphemous Edict is like a new Blasphemous Act, except it is in black. So it costs 3 generic and 2 black, and you can pay 1 black rather than paying its mana cost if there are 13 or more creatures on the battlefield, and then each player sacrifices 13 creatures of their choice. So it's like a Blasphemous Act, except different font. I'm a huge Blasphemous Act fan. I run it in a few of my decks. It's a really good board wipe. A lot of my decks that I do run it in, they have black and red in some sort in them. So they'll have like Nekuzar or something like that. I'll be sticking this in my Nekuzar deck for sure. Then the last card I wanted to talk about is Sire of 7 Deaths. There's a borderless card of this, which is really cool looking. The art is fantastic. I think it looks like the creature from The Mist, if you've ever seen that movie. He costs 7 generic, he's an Eldrazi 7/7, and he has First Strike, Vigilance, Menace, Trample, Reach, Lifelink, and Ward, and the Ward is pay 7 life. So he is a big boy, big scary boy.
That's pretty good, yeah.
He also looks like Siren Head. He looks like a mixture of Siren Head and the creature from The Mist. So Lexi, what are your
I think
3
those are
cards?
good choices for your cards. They're very you as well. I'm gonna save the best for last. So first, we're gonna talk about Izarath. Now, Izarath was a card that was printed before, so she's getting a reprint, but her new art is absolutely gorgeous. And I think Izarath is a very important card in Magic, at least to me. For those of you who don't know, Izarath was one of the first plus size characters depicted in a card that I knew of. And throughout all of my research, she's one of the only cards that I can actually find that has like a realistic plus size body figure. In her original art, it's kind of hard to tell because it's a very dark art. But in this new art, it's actually an anime style, which I like a lot. And it's very bright. It's a bright art. There's a lot of colors. You could like easily see how she's being depicted. Even though it's a anime art, you can still tell that she's kind of a chunky girl. She's not chunky, but she definitely still is, which is important because I think that sometimes looking at magic cards, a lot of characters are very skinny and very frail. And I very much like that there are characters that I can resonate with that are very much not skinny and not frail and do have a little bit of a bone and meat to them, you know? It's nice. And she's also just really pretty. She also has a bird dude. I like her bird dude.
I definitely think that there should be more like plus size representation in Magic. We've gotten a couple, but the last one I can think of is like the bear secret layer was like the last one.
Yeah, there was the bear one that came out, but there was also Goldberry. Is that her name? The one that came out in the Lord of the Rings set. I can't remember the name of the card exactly, or if it was that. She was a plus size character. And then obviously going farther back from that, we had Tasha. I would count Tasha as a plus size character. She's a little bigger than the normal scale. We don't get a lot, I want to preface this, we don't get a lot of plus size characters at all, but I definitely feel like there's more plus size girls than there are guys. I think there's a reason that there's more plus size girls than there are guys. I think guys do need that representation of like the bigger bare body, just bigger bodies in general. But I think the reason that sometimes like women are depicted more often is because when you're a bigger woman, you have bigger boobs, and you have bigger butt, and magic is infamously known for sexualizing women. So I'm very happy that there's that representation, but they're not always doing it for the right reasons. It's very important to note that. I think it's also one of the main reasons why there aren't a lot of male cards, because there's no big titties, I'm sorry. Men don't have big titties. Although I did really like when they did the LGBTQ secret layer and there was the Bearscape card in there. Oh, dude, I
Mhm.
love that card so much. It's so cute. Of course, it wouldn't be me without talking about a dragon. So let's talk about Twin Flame Tyrant. I like this card a lot. I think it's going to go into some of my dragon decks. For those of you who don't know, maybe haven't seen the card, it is a dragon. It costs 3 and 2 red. It has flying, and if a source you control would deal damage to an opponent or a permanent opponent controls, it deals double that damage instead. So it's basically like double strike, but on a stick. This would combo really nicely with like Scourge of Valkaw, Miram. Oh my god, imagine Miram and then having it copy this thing. Holy crap. Then you're doing double the double. I think that's how that would work.
Double the double.
Like if I'm attacking with Tiamat, that becomes 14 and then that becomes 28. Like
Seems
that's
broken.
insane. Other dragons too. There's so many dragons that say like it deals, how many ever damage. And it's not even combat damage. It's just deal any kind of damage. When you're playing with, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the name right now, but it's this card. It deals like repetitive damage, and all that damage would now be doubled. So from 3 to 6, from 4 to 8, like this thing in a dragon deck, it better be a staple on every single goddamn dragon deck, or else I'm gonna have a knife and I'm gonna be coming after some of you because
Oh my god.
I'm the dragon girl. I'm telling you, this boy, he a good boy. Going in my dragon deck at least. So he's evil. Yes, I love dragons. That's a good dragon. Put it in your deck. If you don't, I will be standing by your nightstand with a knife over you until you put it in your deck. That concludes my TED Talk. Thank you. Moving on. I'd like to talk about my new wife. We just recently got married. We're going to be talking about Ophelia, Viper Whisperer. Now, she costs 1 and a black. She's a legendary creature, Gorgon Assassin. She has Death Touch, and then whenever she attacks, I can pay 1 and either a black or a green. And if I do, I create a 1/1 black snake creature token with Death Touch. And then I can play 4 and a black, and until end of turn, whenever one or more of your Gorgons and or snakes you control deal combat damage to a player, that player loses half their life rounded up. I've wanted to build a snake deck for like the longest time. I've built many attempts at a snake deck, and it hasn't always gone the right way, so I always ended up like giving up or not finishing the deck. However, I think this is actually a viable snake commander, and I'm going to have a lot of fun, and plus she's hot. And now I was just talking about sexualizing women. But listen, I'm not doing it in a creepy way. I'm doing it in a way where I admire her. I want to be her. If I could cosplay her, guys, I totally would. She's cute. I like her.
Us. Yeah, magic really sexualizes women too much. Also us. Oh my gosh. Cute, a hot lady in magic I must play.
Exactly. Exactly. I see someone understands. I think there's the important distinction of we're not doing it in a creepy way. We're not like yorking it to the card. We're just admiring how beautiful these women are. We're not creepy.
Yeah, I'm not creepy. I just found a woman that I think is really pretty and I started putting pictures of her on my wall.
It's not stalkerish at all.
No. Dude, we're committing so many crimes in
Oh
this
my
in this
god,
episode. We're ripping
we have to
people
put like
apart,
so many warnings on this.
cutting people up, eating them, threatening them
Dude,
with
if
a
this if
knife.
this video doesn't get views, I'm gonna be so sad. I'm gonna be like, what did it all cost? Everything. Anyway, back to the pretty woman. She's pretty, but she's freaking expensive. I'm hoping that her price will drop after actual release, or that I will open her in a pack, because I'll probably open a couple Jumpstart packs. But I'm very excited. I think, like I said, she's a very viable snake commander, and I think there's a lot of fun things that I would be able to do with the deck. And also, who doesn't like getting hit and then losing half of their life? That could be so good in like a commander pod advantage. Because imagine, like, there's almost always someone who is the threat. If I can go undercover enough with this deck to not be the threat, and someone still has like 38, 40 life because they're absolutely dominating the board, I could totally Rogue's Passage, make my thing unblockable, pay the 5 for my snakes and gorgons, and then just hit them. It could just be 1 damage too. All that has to happen is 1 has to get through, and then they lose half their life, and now they're on the same playing field as us, basically. I mean, they still have board state advantage, but they got 20 less life, bro. I think there's some shenanigans I could do, and I'm very excited because I love shenanigans. So yeah, those are my 3 cards that I chose from the set, and honestly, I think both of us picked really good cards. They very much represent either our play styles or things that we've resonated with throughout Magic. So it's really interesting to just kind of see the stuff that each other picks and see how similar or different they are.
I agree, yeah. It's nice that these sets that are coming out have cards that fit our playstyles too.
Yeah. I feel like Magic really tries to make sure that every set coming out has something for every type of player. But Foundations itself, it's a set that's meant for new players. It's a set that's supposed to be on the simpler side to introduce new players to the game. It's something that's supposed to help get people familiarized with certain mechanics and just like the basics before they go and dive in. And I think it's a forever standard set. Yeah, so Foundations will remain legal and standard until at least 2029. That's a good 5 years that it's staying in rotation and staying standard legal. And that's going to be really interesting to see how it kind of shapes standard. Because I'm not much of a standard player. I've hardly ever played standard. I can't really talk about standard that much. I know enough to know that there's metas in the standard rotation, and I'm very interested to see after this set comes out how those metas change, adapt, or even like get broken.
Yeah, I've never been a big standard player just because I can't afford to keep up with the rotation. But now that there's going to be less of a having to switch out cards rotations and I could just stick with Foundation, I might actually just build a Foundation standard deck to bring to my LGS. That way it's a
Yeah,
safe deck.
and there's definitely enough cards in this set for you to do a full, especially if you dive into 2 different colors. Like, you could probably make a pretty decent deck in standard decks, 60 cards, 4 copies of each card. Like, it's not hard to get there.
You just gotta not put in all the shock lands and make your standard deck like $1 million.
Oh my god, yeah. I'm not gonna say anything 'cause I have some Magic decks that are pretty pricey, but like those are decks that I've built over for like a couple of years. The main reason I chose not to play standard is because of the rotation and how expensive it can be to keep up with the decks and the meta and stuff. I know people who spend like $100 on decks. I know people who spend like $5,000 on decks. I can easily vouch that my most expensive deck probably does not even reach up to $1,000, and I probably did not even spend $1,000 on my most expensive deck. I most likely like traded for most of it or got it as like cards for presents because I have family members and friends and people who play the game. So it's hard to say that I would spend that much money on just one singular deck that's going to go out of rotation in 3 years, 2 years, however long the rotation is normally.
Yeah, my most expensive deck I think I have right now is my Nekuzar deck, and it's at 475 according to Moxfield. But like my partner has a deck, their Edgar Markov deck is about $1,000. Maybe a little less
Yeah.
now that Edgar Markov is being reprinted, but it
I was gonna
wasn't.
say Edgar Markov himself is like 100 almost.
Yeah,
So
that wasn't like bought all at one time. That was like you said, accumulated over a bunch of years. Also,
yeah,
like started as the precon, and the precon itself right now, it might have dropped in price with the reprints coming out, but it was like $500 last time I checked just for the precon.
yeah.
So
I think my most expensive deck is my Alayla deck is sitting at about $400 to $500 depending on where you buy it from. It's saying about 488 to 528. Of course, I've switched things out, so it's probably a little more expensive now because that deck list is pretty old. And then the only other deck that I think would top Alayla would probably be my dragon deck, which is dragons are pretty expensive. So that one's probably on the higher end of like 600-700. A lot of the decks that I have are only like 200-300.
that's where I normally like to keep my decks around is 200 to 300.
Yeah. I think that's a good budget for casual decks. Like, you got some good cards in there, you have some synergy, you're not going super into like that higher end price of cards. And like my Tana deck, Tana the Bloodsower, she's only 219 to 245, and she has like a doubling season, a parallel lives. Like, it's very much possible to build inexpensive decks that are basically only carried by like the expensive cards that you have in them. That's my opinion though, and that's casual commander. I don't touch CEDH anymore. Probably will at one point, but I stay out of it.
$80 of the Nekuzar deck is Shieldred. So that's
Oh my
just one
god,
card.
yeah, exactly. I know that like $60 of my dragon deck is just ancient silver dragon, and then like I also have ancient brass dragon, ancient copper dragon. Like, that adds up quick. I think this is a good stopping point. Do we have any further comments that we want to say?
I'm excited for Thanksgiving. I'm excited for the foundation set coming out. That's pretty much it.
I'm also very excited for Thanksgiving, and we hope every one of our viewers has a very happy Thanksgiving. Take some time to spend time with your family, friends, loved ones, or you know what, just time to yourself too. It's okay to just be a loner on Thanksgiving. I'm a loner on Thanksgiving sometimes, and it's a vibe. With that, I think we should be closing out this episode. You can go ahead and find me. I actually changed my username since the last time. You can now find me at tia.moondrops on any platform, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. All of them will have that for you. And then you can find my wonderful co-host
At Ray of Sickness on like almost any platform as well.
Awesome. Please go check out our individual pages, check out this page, follow, support us, subscribe. We really enjoy doing all these podcasts. So, with that, I think we will bid everyone a good evening, good morning, good night, goodbye.
Goodbye.